What's up, pod pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School. This is the show where I teach podcasters how to love their show like a hobby, but build it like a business. This is a podcast audit episode. I've got my good pod pal, Dr. James Bryant from Engineer Your Success. This is a little bit different where James and I have been in contact. He actually became one of my clients. And he signed up for this, and we're going to talk a little bit about his journey so far, what we've been working on. So this is a little bit different perspective because James and I have been putting in some work recently, and we've already making some good things happen. So James, welcome to the show, man.
Oh, Adam, thank you for having me on the show. I was looking forward to this podcast audit. I didn't want to wait until after the audit to start working with you. I wanted to start working with you well before then.
Well, I always enjoy working with action takers, and that definitely you fit the bill on that. So to kind of cue our audience up to speed here, who's the ideal listener avatar for your show, Engineer Your Success?
Okay, so the show is Engineer Your Success with Dr. James Bryant. The avatar are business owners and key principles of engineering firms. So people in the transportation engineering space, the civil engineering space, engineering as a whole, but from a marketing perspective, those are the people that I've been marketing to.
Yeah, and like when we first met, I'm like, love the niche. The name is perfect. You know, it's a rare occasion on a podcast audit when I'm not like, oh, we need to think about renaming your show. Like your show, I like the branding. It's right in line with what you're teaching and who you're trying to teach to. So we love that. Now, when we first got to know each other, I like to categorize people in this thing that I developed called the podcast success timeline. And I'm like, all right, Dr. James, you're in the phase 2, which is the post-launch frustration zone. So let's talk about some symptoms and what we've been doing to get you out of this zone. So the key symptoms are, and these are kind of just typical things that I wrote down for this timeline, doing less than 125 downloads per episode at the 30-day mark, frustration with lack of download growth or the speed of growth, feeling pressure for releasing that consistent content, and then just kind of feeling like you may need to tweak some things and you're kind of uneasy with, the whole process that you're going through. So the checklist that we've been working through, number 1, get a regular social media and marketing calendar going. And we've been working on that for sure.
We're working on that.
Start using the podcast growth scorecard, which you've been working on that as well. So we're getting James filling this out. I think the biggest checkbox that you really got after was creating a community engagement lead magnet. I was like, all right, a couple months from now, we'll put it out there. You're like, no, in 4 weeks, we got this. So you're going to actually do 2 of them.
Yes.
We're recording this in November. You're going to hit one in November, one in December. So I thought that was pretty aggressive, but you got it lined up. And I think it helps because you understand your niche really well. You understand their pain points. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think this is a big step for you and for your brand, because this is going to level up your audience engagement. This is going to level up your super fans, and this is going to lubricate the process that leads towards monetization, which is where we all want to get to. So let's talk about the idea factory that we started around your community engagement lead magnet. So what's it going to be about, and what's the structure going to look like so far?
Well, really, what it's going to be about is finishing 2021 strong and preparing your way for an even stronger 2022. So we're getting into the point where people start thinking about goal setting and New Year's resolutions. And so I started doing a series of podcast episodes dealing around the topic of goal setting. And as part of that, we decided that we would do this on-ramp to 2022 event. And they're really 45 minutes to an hour community engagement events. They're small groups. There are only 14 spots in each group because you want to keep it small and intimate. And just to be around people that are like-minded, that are trying to set their goals and start looking forward to achieve those goals. Eventually, I think the end game, or maybe a stop along the way, is for people to participate in these types of events and become part of the Engineer Your Success community. And through that community, I'll be able to offer other valuable content, feedback, and tips just to continue to pour into the people that are pouring into me in terms of downloading the episode and listening to the content. And, the one thing that is true is just because you create a podcast doesn't mean that people are going to listen. Just because you're creating content, and it can be good content, doesn't mean that that's going to be in front of the people that need to hear it. And that's one of the things why I really felt compelled, or I was looking for a solution for that. And you're helping to provide that solution for me by providing that guidance, getting rid of some of that frustration of, I don't know what to do. I don't know what the next step is. It's great to have someone who has that experience that can help you determine what those next steps are.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because that's something I love to do. Is I know there are a lot of hard workers out there, and you've been, an excellent example of that. It's like we meet up, we get some homework dialed out, and you're all over it. Like, you can execute. It was just what do I execute on? We were trying to figure out what was the first thing, what was the second thing, and now we're just knocking some of these things out, and we're starting to get some momentum going. So when you guys are out there and you're thinking, I talk about these community engagement lead magnets all the time. I talk about that irresistible reason why people want to attend, and some people struggle with that. But what we did with James's brand in his show, we go, all right, this is the end of the year. He's a great motivator. He's a great goal setter. He's a great organizer of thoughts, systems guy like I am. So that's why we get along so well. And we think, all right, how can we deliver and leverage that? And the time of year. So we're like, yeah, the 2022 on-ramp. A lot of people are already starting to map out those goals and what they want to accomplish with their business, with their life in 2022. Let's provide an on-ramp system with a couple of these community engagement lead magnets. So it's more of the time of the year, sort of a carrot that we're dangling out there, where with PodPal Zoom Party, it's just, I know podcasters want to get on other people's shows. So that's the carrot that I'm able to dangle out there. So it could be a seasonal thing. It could be a time of year promotional thing, and you could leverage that. But I think this is beautifully done. Again, the branding, delivering what your niche is going to want and serving them appropriately. I think that it's really well put together. I'm pretty darn excited about it.
So am I, Adam.
All right. So that's a big step. We got that's in place, and you knocked that out quick. We also, on my checklist here, I'm looking at my notes. This is a great time to start looking at podcast player ads. So we started bouncing some ideas around, and you secured an ad, I think on Podcast Addict.
Yes.
And my little trick that I rarely mention on the air, but every once in a while, I'll drip this out there for the true power fans that listen to all the shows. Podcast Addict is a platform I like because they do monthly ads. You can't start an ad on the 15th of the month and end the 15th of the next month. It's one calendar month from the first to the last of the month. So if you pop in at the first of the month, you can book 2 months in advance. So November 1 hit. I was like, James, November 1, we got to look at January, because that's going to be the best price. It's volume-based pricing. It's scarcity-based pricing. So more people buy, the more the price goes up. January is going to be a great time of year to be out there. So, as we ramp up December and January, this is a great time to start planting those seeds with some podcast player ads. And as 1 year ends and we ramp up into a new year, it's a great time. Like, you're going to get more bang for your buck with those ads, because in January, everybody should see a spike in downloads, because people are in that new year. I want to learn new things, sort of a mindset, especially if you have a teaching-based show, a motivation-based show, or a health-based show. That's a great time. So there's an opportunity with podcast player ads to get more bang for your buck. So any thoughts around that process of, it was pretty easy to set it up, right?
Yeah, it was pretty easy to set it up. In fact, you laid out the notes for me and said, hey, I want you to check into this. I went through my email, kind of saw it, did the initial, information. Was like, you said, check back, put a reminder on your calendar to get back in there on November 1st. Well, I didn't put the reminder on my calendar, but I was looking at your information. I was saying, okay, I got to get ready for our next meeting. I have to see what's going on with with our podcast. Oh, that's right. I need to go ahead and secure this ad. And I was able to secure it at a really reasonable price.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, I got a follow-up email from you, like, when do we film the video for this ad or whatever? And I was like, no, it's that simple. Like, it's not like a Facebook ad. And a lot of people are intimidated. Like, I love it. I love podcast player ads because you're in front of podcast listeners as they listen to podcasts in your category that you're targeting. So if you've got a business show like me, I can run a banner ad in the business listener category. If they're listening to business shows, mine pops up. There's no videos. There's no like targeting. It takes your show art and your show description. It creates a little banner ad out of it. Done. All you have to do is pay for it and pick which category you want to be in, and we're good to go. So we're looking forward to some success with that as well.
No, I'm looking forward to it. And I was looking at my download stats the other day. So, when I first launched, I think that first month, it may have been, or from those, may have been a total of maybe 200 downloads. I'm doing an episode a week. Then the second month, it dipped down to like 140, 130. Since we've been working together and I've been following, the strategies for posting on social media, it's gone up to 271. Now, of course, there are more episodes, but I'm also more consistent in I'm more consistent in engaging my community on social media and raising my hand and said, hey, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I think it's somewhere that it said that a person needs to see your information 6 or 7 times before it takes. And so there is power in looking to consistently put your message in front of the people that you're trying to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like fishing. And like when I'm out fishing for some catfish, if I've got 3 lines in the water or 6 lines in the water, I got a better opportunity to catch the fish that I'm after. So, being out there, putting your Facebook post out, your LinkedIn, like understanding where your audience is at. Maybe it's TikTok, maybe it's Instagram, Pinterest. A lot of podcasters are in Pinterest now. Not me yet, but I may figure it out. Who knows? But the more we're out there, the more consistent that we're out there, and then we get some rhythm going on and going, all right, I can batch this, or I could delegate that to my VA. So that's, and another little bit of props I want to send your direction is I got you back into a weekly newsletter blast, which I think it's super important for anybody, but you're a really good writer and you're a really good, like, you just come through and it's like you're authentic and it's you. It's like a blog post and like you've got a good flow to the way that you write. So I think that that's really going to get you connected. So all these things, like where you're at in your podcasting journey, James, this is a great time to double down on relationship building and take advantage of being smaller and really creating relationships with these people. So if they do email you or DM you on social media or whatever, you can have a conversation and then they become super fans. You get one super fan, they're going to tell 10 people about your show, and that's for free. So this is a great opportunity to do that. And then you become known as that person as everything grows. And that's how I've built my brand in the space. And I've got a loyal listenership, or, they're small-ish, but mighty. It's not like Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas numbers, but like I know people's names. I know their stories. Anybody that's in my membership, like I know where they're from. I know if they have kids or not and stuff like that. And people just respect the heck out of that. When you do business like that. I know that you're a great connector, a great relationship builder as well. So I just want to keep that top of mind for you. Like this is the time to really double down on that. And you've obviously got your regular day job at the same time, and you're a dedicated dad like I am. We've talked about maybe a second show coming down the pipeline on that as well. But I think that just you're putting the right pieces in place. And that's for anybody that's listening. Like if you feel like you're doing a lot of stuff, but you're not making a lot of progress, sometimes it's just like, what's the highest impact things? What are those things that we could be doing to move the needle the most efficiently and effective way? So I think you're doing a great job of that so far, James. What do you feel like momentum wise? You mentioned the downloads, but do you feel like we're starting to get some processes in place right now?
I think we are getting processes in place just in terms of looking at the social media calendar, looking at the download, the growth download scorecard. But I think there's also this thought of batching, getting into batching some episodes. Currently I'm doing solo episodes. They're maybe 15 to 20 minutes, I think is the longest episode that I've had. And in the future, I think we're going to introduce some interview based episodes. And I know you've talked about having the client bridge.
Yep.
So I'm looking at that, but there's also this other thought in my head, and I don't even know if you and I have talked about it. So everybody that's listening on this podcast will hear it for the first time, and people that are here live will be able to hear it. Is just really doubling down and focusing in on key principles and CEOs of these engineering firms, and just having an interview with them, not to try to get them to be as a client, but to get some success insights from them, a view from the top, to talk about some issues or things that they've been able to overcome, or principles that they've been able to, to use in order to help them be successful. And that's more like trying to give back to the community that I'm serving. And it may not be, hey, I'm going to try to get this, this CEO to become a coaching client or something like that. It's not. I want that story to get out because I think it'll be valuable to the community.
So the little filter when you're looking for guests or you're looking for content opportunities, you go, all right, what's first primarily what's in it for my listener? What are the benefits they're going to get out of this conversation or this solo episode? What's in it for my guest? And then what's in it for me? Like, so what opportunities are there? And obviously when you have a really, high level guest on, or somebody that's got a lot of experience in your niche, it's great for the listener because they're getting all that experience. For the guest, it's a great, showcase of their speaking, their skill. It's social proof. Like if they want to speak on stages, they're like, I was featured on this podcast, like the whole thing. It's great for them, and they get in front of your audience, which may be a brand builder for them. It's great for you for, it could be a potential client, but more often it's like a collaborative relationship. Like a great example. I've been, working on a collaboration with a couple of guys that have a big show, a big brand. And we've just been creating content back and forth for like 3 years now. And now something giant is going to happen out of it. And like, there was zero, if I had got super salesy right from the get-go and been like, you really need to hire me or do this or that, it would have never gone that. Just playing the long game. But I think you're going to be great at this because you're a great relationship builder. Like we had a 5-minute conversation. We were already like buds and like, we're just like joking around and, like you're a likable dude, and that's good. So, and then, so that triple, that trifecta of positivity, that's always top of mind. But I think where people get messed up with the whole, like it's guest as client model or community client bridge, is when they get ultra obsessed with, I got to sell everybody that gets on that microphone with me. And it's not about that. It's like primary objective is, what is my audience getting out of this? And if you can gain exposure to your ideal potential client and serve your audience, awesome. That's great. But it can't just be all about getting that client. Does that make sense?
I think you become top of mind as someone that has the ability to provide value to the community. People know that you have I have a coaching practice. They know I'm doing leadership training. They will know that I'm in that space. And so if they have a need, I want them to say, that was a great interview that I had, with James. He really served our community well. Let me see about, him and see if he can come do this keynote for me, or he can come lead this training for me.
Yep. You're exactly right. The opportunities are going to become abundant. Like you nailed it. Top of mind. You are now a go-to person, and because you added value first. A lot of people that are out there, like, I don't want to be a podcast host. I just want to be a guest. They're missing out because it's easy. It's a door opener for any relationship that you want to build, right? Like if there's somebody in your space, in your niche that could serve your audience, invite them to be on your show. You've got a much bigger chance of actually getting to interact with them and build a relationship than some sort of cold, reach out thing. So I think you're going to crush it with this.
Yeah, it's on my list, and I'm I got to take some time off from my day job in the next, between now and the middle of January. So it's on my list to start queuing that up. And ideally, some of those episodes will drop in January. I can sprinkle some in as we get new listeners that are responding to the podcast player ad.
Yeah. And I think with you have a full-time job, and you're a full-time dad. And like, I get it. So we have to be aware of your time. Like, especially when somebody hires me as a coach, like you and I have already had this talk, but I'm like, I'm not looking to just pile stuff up on your plate. I'm like, all right, there's only so much room on the plate. How much room can I get on your plate? All right, now we understand that. Well, here are the key things. And then if we add something else, then we either complete a task and take that off the plate. But it's not just like, let's stack pancakes as high as we can until they fall over.
Yeah.
So, and I love pancakes. I can eat the hell out of some pancakes, but like, we're not going to.
Those must be low carb pancakes, right?
they're have you ever heard of a chaffle? Do you know what a chaffle is, James?
No, I don't. I do not.
Okay. It'll change your life. You get cheese and what is it? It's cheese and an egg, and you just like beat it together, throw it on a waffle iron, and it creates a waffle out of cheese and egg. Ooh. And it's actually pretty good. So
okay.
0 carb waffle. There you go.
I'll
dropping a little nutrition tips on the show today.
When I come to the Midwest, you're gonna have to make me one.
A little chaffle action. It's big in the keto space. But let's preview kind of what's coming next for you, because you're doing all the stuff that I've been asking you to do. The next phase of your journey is what I call the business traction zone. I feel like, first quarter of next year, this is where we're heading to, and it's really exciting. So we're looking at obviously a download increase. You're going to have regular attendance and engagement in your community engagement lead magnet. So the first couple, we're figuring it out, but then, session 3, 4, 5, they start to show up. Mm-hmm. And, I always encourage people to release these as episodes, and all of a sudden they're signing up from that automatically, or you're out speaking, and that's your way of getting people into your world. Like I just spoke at Podfest Expo yesterday. Okay. I mentioned Pod Pals. I got a whole bunch of people that just got on my email list because they want to be there and they're signed up. So it's a great way to pull people into your room or into your world. Mm-hmm. Income, it's going to start happening for sure. You're going to feel much more confident on the flow of your content. Like you're going to get in your groove of, all right, so I do one of these community engagement lead magnets every month. That's 1 or maybe even 2 episodes. You could break that down and create a couple episodes out of it. What's my other content looking like? Maybe 1 solo episode, maybe 1 special guest interview. We're good for a month,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You're going to gain some confidence with that. And the collaboration opportunities are really going to start ramping up, especially since we're connected. But I just want to kind of give you a preview of, you're doing all the right things that I'm asking you to do, and you're gaining momentum, you're gaining traction. And just each month over month, like good stuff's going to start happening here. And that's kind of the preview zone. So out of that stuff we just talked about there, like what are you most excited about that's coming up?
All of it.
I'm excited
about all of those things. The community engagement piece is big. My expectations for the first 2, they're going to be what they're going to be. And so I will probably, if I don't have the attendance that I'm looking for, that means I need to get better at advertising it, or need to get better at reaching out and connecting within my network. Just like with the podcast, people aren't just going to listen. I mean, there's some people that may, come through and see what you're doing, but you really have to target the people that you're going after. And so I'll have to start targeting even more the people that I'm going after. So I'm interested in connecting with people. You'll see on the email that you'll get today about, the whole thing about community, and it's about building community. COVID-19 has hit all of us hard in terms of not being able to physically gather as often as we would like. And so, but there's space for these virtual communities. It's not going to replace the physical, but it helps fill a gap. Yep. And getting people together for this on-ramp 2022 event, and talking about their goals and talking about their dreams. What do you envision? Because engineers are people too. We're not just logic machines. We're not just people that are, doing calculations or doing the design. Before we were engineers, we were people, and we have dreams. We have gifts. We have things that we want to not only give to the profession, but we want to give to the world. Yeah. And it's my honor and pleasure to be able to help unlock those gifts so that the world can receive them. And we're going to start doing that at these on-ramp 2022 events.
Yes. Well, dude, I want to make sure that we get an opportunity to shout out your show and any way people can dive into your world. How do they sign up for the on-ramp? Like, let's talk about that a little bit, but let's shout website, the whole thing. What do you got for us, James?
Ooh, man, I have a whole lot of different things. Well, the show is Engineer Your Success with Dr. James Bryant. So if you go to Apple Podcasts, if you're on Spotify, any of the podcast players, you will be able to find it there. If you go to one of the show notes there at the show, you'll see a link to our website. And the website is betteryouforyou.com. And you can spell all that out. I'm not going to try to complicate it. Spell it all out long way. You will be directed to our website, betteryouforyou.com. There's a podcast page that I have there. There's also a podcast page that we have on Lipson Pro, which is we use in terms of being able to push the podcast out. But that, and you can get in contact with me on Facebook, on Instagram, or on LinkedIn. On Facebook and Instagram, it's Better You for You. And on that one, it's Better You, all spelled out, and then the number 4, the letter U.
Better You for You. Dr. James Bryant, you're one of my favorite new people that I've been connected to, man. I'm very excited about what you got cooking with your show. You're going to help a lot of people, and I appreciate you joining us here today, man.
Thank you. And I can't wait if the other show we've talked about actually comes to fruition too. I think that's going to be awesome as well.
Look out. Look out, pod pals. All right. Everybody listening, if you want to do a podcast audit, just like my pod pal James here, go to the main website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. It's the top of the page. Get signed up. It's free. Hop on that schedule and we can podcast audit together. All right. I'm going to send you all out into the world. As always, wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time.